If your carrots come out twisted like alien fingers, don't blame the seeds. The real problem is hiding right under your feet, and it's quietly wrecking more vegetables than you'd think. Container gardening is everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about it. So I went down the rabbit hole, reading, watching, cross-checking to find out what's actually true. And for 5 common vegetables, the answer kept coming back to the same thing. The ground itself is the problem, not the solution. Over the next 11 minutes, I'll walk you through the same way I pieced it together, why a cheap pot beats a garden bed for each one. The single move that matters most, and exactly when to pick. It really comes down to 3 things you can only control in a container: the roots, the water, and the warmth. And stay with me for number 1. It's the plant most people are too scared to grow in the ground, even though it gives you the easiest harvest of them all. But before we get into the list, look at this for a second. These strawberries are hanging clean off the soil. Meanwhile, the ones in the bed, already turning soft and gray. Same plant, same week, totally different result. That's what a little control gets you. No fancy tools, no big yard, no guesswork. One quick note before we dig in. A couple of these grow in big fabric bags, and a full 15-gallon bag can get heavy. So just set it somewhere low and steady, away from a curious dog or a small child who might pull it over. And since everything here goes straight to your plate, skip the harsh sprays. Keep it simple. All right, let's start with number 5. Number 5. Carrots. You've probably scrolled past those viral photos. Carrots that come out twisted and forked like little alien hands. Most people blame the seeds and just try again. But here's what keeps showing up across every source I looked at. The real culprit is usually the ground itself. Think of it this way. Carrot roots are soft like a finger pushing through wet sand. When they hit packed soil or a buried pebble, they don't push through. They split. They curl. They go around it. That's where those weird shapes come from. And the difference is pretty striking. In a loose, uncompacted mix, trials showed about 10% more usable carrot with the roots staying straight and clean. So here's the one move that matters. Fill a pot at least 8 to 10 inches deep with a light, fluffy mix. Sow the seeds right where they'll grow, and thin them to about 2 fingers apart. That's it. One thing a lot of growers warn about though: never start carrots indoors and try to move them. Even a tiny nick on that taproot ruins the shape. Just let them be where they are. Then comes the easy part. Pull them around 60 to 80 days once the top of the shoulder is about an inch across. And here's a little trick the community loves. If a light frost is on the way, leave them 1 extra night. The cold helps turn their starch into sugar, so they come out sweeter. Straight, sweet carrots from a simple pot on a balcony. No garden required. But carrots still make you wait 2 months. The next plant? It pays you back almost every week. Number 4. Basil. This is the herb everyone grabs at the store, watches it collapse within a week, and then blames their so-called black thumb. Sound familiar? Here's the thing. It's usually not you. It's the temperature. Basil seeds basically refuse to wake up in cold soil. Below about 55 degrees, they just stall. And spring beds, they stay cold for weeks. Nobody tells you that part. But a pot warms up way faster, and once your mix is nice and warm, seeds sprout in roughly 8 to 14 days. That's what university extension guides keep confirming. So here's the one move. When your plant has about 6 real leaves, pinch the very top off right above the second set, and keep doing it. Think of it like giving the plant a gentle haircut. Every time you pinch, it stops trying to grow tall and starts growing wide and bushy instead. And that matters because the moment basil flowers, the leaves turn bitter. It's like the plant flips a switch and decides it's done feeding you. Harvesting works the same gentle way. Cut and come again, snip the stems at 4 to 6 inches, and always leave 2 to 4 leaves near the base. That's what it regrows from. And one small tip that saves a lot of basil: never stick it in the fridge. The cold blackens the leaves almost overnight. Just stand the stems in a glass of water on the counter, like flowers. That's it. So warmth is what wakes basil up fast. And that very same warmth, it decides exactly how many peppers our next plant will give you. Number 3. Peppers. You've seen this trend all over gardening videos. People swearing peppers love heat, so they bake them in black plastic pots, full sun, all day. And they're not wrong. Peppers do love heat. But here's the catch nobody mentions. Peppers set the most fruit when their roots stay around 77 degrees. That's the sweet spot. Push them too hot, and something strange happens. The plant throws out tons of flowers, but then drops most of them, just lets them fall. In one trial, the harvest fell by about 74%. 74. That's almost everything, gone just because the roots got too warm. So the one move is surprisingly simple. Grow peppers in a fabric pot, not black plastic. The breathable fabric lets air through, keeps the roots noticeably cooler, and holds them right in that happy zone. Think of it like the difference between wearing a black leather jacket in July versus a linen shirt. Same sun, totally different experience for what's inside. When it's time to pick, wait until at least one pepper fully changes color, yellow or red. That's when the flavor hits its peak. And snip them off with scissors. Don't twist or pull, you'll tear the plant. Keep cutting, and the plant keeps setting new fruit for weeks. Calm, steady, no babysitting. Heat feeds your peppers, but our next plant wins by controlling the exact opposite thing: water. Number 2. Strawberries. Everyone online makes them look effortless, but if you've ever tried growing them in a garden bed, you know the truth. They're a magnet for slugs and rot. And here's why. When rain or watering splashes soil up onto the fruit, it carries fungal spores with it, especially one called botrytis. That's the gray mold that turns a perfect berry into mush overnight. You go to bed with beautiful berries. You wake up and they look like they've been sitting in a damp basement for a week. But here's what so many growers are figuring out. Just lift the plant off the ground and that whole problem mostly disappears. So the one move: grow strawberries in a hanging basket or a raised pot. And snip off the runners, those long stringy shoots as they pop up. Why? Because cutting runners forces the plant to pour all its energy into flowers and fruit instead of crawling everywhere trying to make copies of itself. One thing to know: strawberries don't ripen any further once you pick them. What you see is what you get. So wait until they're fully red. Pinch them off with the little green cap still on. And whatever you do, don't squeeze the fruit. Pick every couple of days. That alone keeps mold from spreading down the basket. Clean, sweet berries hanging right at eye level. Quick recap before the best one. 4 vegetables so far, and every single time the winner was not more space. It was controlling the roots, the warmth, or the water. Now stay with me, because number 1 is the plant most people are too scared to grow in the ground at all, and it gives you the easiest harvest of them all. Number 1. Potatoes. This is the plant that fills every comment section with the same line: "I tried it and it just didn't work." And honestly, in the ground, potatoes deal with a lot: moles, rot, and that gut sink moment when you slice straight through one with a shovel. You know the feeling. A fabric grow bag fixes almost all of it. The breathable sides do something really clever. They air prune the roots into a thick, fibrous network. And being up off the ground keeps burrowing pests out entirely. It's like moving your harvest to a penthouse where nothing underground can touch it. But here's the one move that truly changes your yield. Hilling. Every time the plant grows about 8 inches taller, unroll the cuff of the bag and add 3 to 4 more inches of soil over the stem. Here's why that works. That buried stem keeps growing new potatoes along its length. So the taller you hill, the more you harvest. It's almost like the plant is saying, "Give me more room and I'll give you more food." Now, if your last potato pot flopped, don't feel bad. From everything I've read, it almost always comes down to 2 things: a bag that was too small or letting it dry out. Potatoes are thirsty. They need steady, even moisture. And this comes up all the time in the community. One gardener with just a small balcony shared what so many people end up discovering. Simply going from a cramped little bucket to a big 15-gallon bag was the one change that finally gave them a real harvest. That's it, just more room. For baby potatoes, dig in around 7 to 8 weeks. For big storage spuds, wait until the leaves yellow and die back. And then comes the payoff. The whole reason potatoes are number 1. You don't dig. You just grab the bag and tip it over. The potatoes come tumbling out onto the tarp. Clean, whole, not one of them sliced in half. No shovel, no sore knees, 0 guesswork. So 5 vegetables and 1 quiet idea ties them all together. With these plants, you don't win by having more space. You win by controlling a few small things: the roots, the warmth, and the water. That's really all container growing is. Just another trend that's everywhere right now, filtered down to what actually works in your own backyard. One less thing to guess about. Before you go, I'm genuinely curious about one thing. Drop a comment with the one crop that always seems to fail you. Carrots, basil, peppers, strawberries, potatoes, whatever it is. I'll tell you the very first thing I'd change. I read every single one of these, and they help me decide what to dig into next. And to make all of this as easy as possible, I put together a completely free gift. I call it the Ultimate Container Garden Success Guide. It's got the exact pot sizes, soil mixes, and harvest timings we talked about today, plus a printable plant care and harvest log. You can use it to track your watering, mark each plant's pick-by date, and check off your hilling days, so you don't have to keep it all in your head. Just click the first link in the description, print it out, pin it to your fridge. That way, the next time you're out with your pots, there's one less thing to guess about. Happy gardening!